Hey everyone, so if you're listening to this right now, chances are you're probably getting ready for the IIA-IAP exam.
That's right. We're going to be looking at some practice questions.
And we're going to do a deep dive today using an online training video that we found.
Yeah, and we're not just going to tell you the answers. We're going to break down why those answers are correct.
Exactly. And, I always find that those kinds of questions, the ones where you really have to think about it, are the ones that really help me learn.
Absolutely.
So this training video really emphasizes that uh, the exam is not just about memorizing facts.
Right.
It's about applying that knowledge and really thinking through the scenarios.
Thinking like an auditor.
Yeah, and I find that really interesting.
Me too.
So are you ready to jump into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so first a quick overview. You'll have 120 minutes to answer 100 multiple choice questions.
And the exam is available in a few different languages.
Yeah, that's good to know going into it.
Yeah, knowing the format definitely helps you kind of mentally prepare.
Yeah, basing yourself.
Exactly.
So let's get into the questions.
Okay.
The first one is about the role of internal auditors when it comes to controls.
Okay.
So what's the best way to describe their role in assessing those controls?
So here are your options. A, internal auditors should assist management in establishing control procedures. B, internal auditors should provide recommendations for improving control processes. Or C, internal auditors should implement control measures for business operations.
Okay, so these all sound kind of similar.
Mm-hmm.
What's the nuance here?
So the big thing here is that internal auditors don't create the controls, they evaluate them.
Right, so it's about being objective,
Exactly.
not being biased by the fact that you helped create it.
Right.
But why is that objectivity so important?
Hmm?
Couldn't someone involved in creating a control also spot flaws?
You're right. It's possible, but when we're thinking about stakeholders, they need to know that the findings of an audit are completely unbiased.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
So if someone was involved in creating a control, their assessment might not be seen as credible.
Even if it is.
Right.
So it's all about maintaining that trust.
Exactly.
Okay, so that means the answer is B.
Yes.
Internal auditors should provide recommendations for improving control processing.
Exactly. They're analyzing what's there, finding the weaknesses, and then making suggestions for improvement.
Got it. Okay, so question number 2. This one's about assurance services.
Right.
Which of these engagements is most commonly considered an internal audit assurance service?
So your options are A, internal control assessment, B, risk facilitation workshop, or C, business process consulting.
Okay, so are internal control assessments the only type of assurance service, or are there other areas?
So there are others as well,
Okay.
like compliance with laws and regulations
Yeah.
or the effectiveness of IT security systems.
Wow, so it's like a broader concept than I initially thought.
Right.
It's about providing that independent opinion that people can rely on.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but getting back to the question, why is an internal control assessment so important?
Well, because stakeholders want to know that risks are being managed effectively.
That makes sense.
And that's what internal control assessments do.
This answer is A.
A, internal control assessment.
Okay, question 3. This one is all about reporting on an organization's risk management framework.
Okay.
What would provide the most value in a report like that?
So here are your options. A, verifying that risk mitigation strategies are properly documented. B, identifying control gaps and recommending improvements. Or C, ensuring all past risk events have been fully addressed.
These are all important, but I think one is more important than the others.
Yeah, so if you think about it, documenting strategies or focusing on past events isn't really moving forward.
Right, it's not very helpful.
The real value comes from identifying the weaknesses before they become a problem.
Before they even happen.
Exactly.
Sure.
And then coming up with solutions.
So being proactive, not reactive.
Right.
Okay, so that means the answer is B.
B, identifying control gaps and recommending improvements.
Perfect. Okay, question 4. This one is about data analytics.
Yeah?
I actually find this one really fascinating.
Next.
Because data analytics is becoming more and more important in internal audit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the question asks, an internal auditor plans to use data analytics software for audit testing. What is the most likely challenge the auditor will encounter?
And your options are A, limited access to comprehensive and reliable data sources. B, insufficient training on how to interpret analytical results. Or C, lack of support from senior management for audit analytics.
This reminds me of when I'm trying to do my own personal finances.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just have data spread across so many different apps that it's hard to get a clear picture.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what it's like dealing with that at an organizational level.
Yeah. And that's actually a really good point because a lot of times the biggest challenge is the data itself.
Really?
Yeah.
So even with the software, it comes down to the quality of what you're working with.
Exactly. It's like you can't make a good cake with bad ingredients.
Yeah.
The software is only as good as the data you put in.
So the answer is A.
A limited access to comprehensive and reliable data sources.
Okay, last question for this part.
Right.
Let's talk about flowcharts versus narratives.
Okay.
So the question asks an internal auditor, is documenting a company's inventory management process.
Okay.
Which of the following best justifies the use of a flowchart over a written narrative?
All right. Your options are A, the process is complex and involves multiple departments. B, the process is well documented in existing manuals. Or C, the engagement does not focus on operational effectiveness.
So when is it better to use a visual, like a flowchart?
Flowcharts are really good when you're dealing with complex processes,
Okay.
especially ones that involve multiple departments, because trying to explain it in words can be really messy.
Right, so it's easier to see the big picture.
Exactly. You can see how everything connects and where the bottlenecks
And
are.
where things can go wrong.
Right.
Okay, so the answer is A.
A, the process is complex and involves multiple departments.
Awesome.
Good job.
That was a lot.
Yeah, we covered a lot.
But I think we got through it.
I think so too.
So we've learned a lot about, the role of internal auditors. So anyone out there listening who's getting ready for the IIA-IAP exam,
Good luck.
you got the...
Just remember the key is to understand the concepts and how to apply them.
And don't be afraid to think outside the box.
Keep practicing and never stop learning.
And most importantly, believe in yourself.
Yeah, you can do it.
That's it for our deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.